Morning, everyone. My name is Elina Hiltunen and I will be your host today in this EqualiTech 2021 seminar. And this seminar is focused on the diversity and inclusion in the field of technology, and we have the beautiful Nordic twist in this seminar. And as the topic is very important, we have many partners in this seminar. So the National Council of Women of Finland is co-organizing this seminar with Vaasa Entrepreneurship Society. And a couple of technical details about this seminar. So you are looking at this seminar from YouTube, and if you look at the right hand side, at least in my computer, it's in the right hand side, you can see a chat box. So if you have any questions, please type those and I will be reading those questions, and then we can ask some of those questions from the speakers. And these videos will be available till the end of this year in YouTube, so you have plenty of time to watch them again and again, of course. And after the seminar, we have workshops. And the workshops, if you want to participate them, so please go to the Facebook side of this event, and then you can find the links to different kind of workshops. So I'm very happy to be here, and now we will have 9 speakers here and quite tight timetable here, so I try to be quite strict with the timetable. But first we have Liisa Ketolainen, and on behalf of the organizers, she is saying the welcoming words to you, and she is coming from the National Council of Women of Finland. So please, Liisa, you are welcome to say your words. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And dear everyone, as Elina said, on behalf of all of the organizers, I would like to share just a few words on why EqualiTech is taking place. This event is inspired by the importance of inclusion. We see the urgency of promoting diversity, equality, and inclusion in technical fields and beyond. It has become globally undisputable that we need to enable and encourage more women and people of minorities to pursue studies and careers in tech. This is not just about gender equality, it's about who is creating our future. Who are the people making decisions about what is being researched, what kind of technologies are invested in, what kind of solutions are being developed, for whom, where, under what kind of premises. That all will affect how the end result, which is our future, will turn out. The Global Gender Gap Report, published by the World Economic Forum a couple of weeks ago, showed how many emerging roles, such as artificial intelligence specialist, big data developer, and chief strategy officer, are male-dominated. For example, the current share of women in cloud computing roles is 14%. The problem is that cloud computing, engineering, data, AI, and more will play a significant role in shaping all aspects of technology and how it's deployed in the world. This is a challenge even in Finland, where the gender divisions in education and working life are greater than in Europe in general. And for example, the number of women graduating with a degree in ICT is just over 20%. Technology is not just one field, but many fields, and it creates the platforms, tools, and possibilities for countless more fields, even our everyday lives. It has been also estimated that one of the clear consequences of the pandemic is the rapid acceleration in digitalization and the integration of technology into all aspects of our lives. In addition to the small number of women leading technology, there are several other global challenges in tech regarding gender equality, such as the digital gender gap, which is about digital access, skills, ability to participate. As an example, globally, only 48%, so less than half of women, are using the internet, and 300 million fewer women than men access mobile internet. Technology also risks passing on gender stereotypes. We have countless unfortunate examples of services repeating the often unconscious biases that come either from their developers or from the data available. Technology also enables new forms of gender-based violence. Digital violence can include, for example, breaking into a person's online accounts, digital stalking, threats, publishing intimate material, and more. However, the possibilities of technology to advance well-being, justice, gender equality, and more are even greater. Technology holds great potential for solving global challenges like climate change, poverty, inequality, and so on. And there is plenty to do with broadening the horizons of what people associate with tech. In addition to computers, buildings, and boats, tech is very much about health, education, democracy, and so forth. With more gender equality, the possibilities for better business are also apparent. Multiple studies show the benefits of diverse teams in terms of decision-making, innovation, and results. Inclusion is appreciated by customers and stakeholders, but also employees, and thus it's an advantage in competition for the best skills. And incorporating the best skills and having a versatile network of creators creates possibilities for making better products, reaching new audiences, building relevant, functioning, sustainable solutions. There's also the possibility of transforming societies through technology that challenges stereotypes. After all, technology has not created the problems we have with stereotypes or gender segregation, but it can help fix it if we create actively gender transformative technology. Technology is created by people, for people, and in organizations consisting mostly of people. Thus, when discussing tech and equality, it's imperative to talk about leadership commitment, organizational cultures, concrete programs, guidelines, practices in enhancing gender equality, processes such as recruitment and tackling unwanted behavior, including unconscious biases, and setting measurable goals for equality and matching it with necessary training, resources, and follow-up. This is particularly important as it seems many of the hurdles are in taking concrete action rather than in acknowledging the importance of equality. Finally, technology in all its versatile fields is a life-changing, world-changing force where we want to take lead in the complete variety of possibilities and talents available. For things to change, we need to have states, companies, industries, universities, and other stakeholders not just enabling, but actively creating the change. And this is also what we're doing today with this event, creating a platform for sharing knowledge, thoughts, and ideas. And we hope you take the possibility to discuss and share your views, especially in the workshop sessions in the afternoon. The organizers and partners of this event include, and these are many, Vaasa Entrepreneurship Society, European Regional Development Fund, Interreg Botnia Atlantica, Regional Council of Ostrobothnia, Region Västerbotten, Region Västernorrland, the Future Cleantech Solutions Project, ABB, Energy Vaasa, Nordic Energy Equality Network, Nordic Council of Ministers, National Council of Women of Finland, Technology Center Merinova, University of Vaasa, West Energy, Vaasa Energy Business Innovation Center, and Wärtsilä. Thank you all. And I also want to thank everyone who has worked for this event to take place, all the speakers, everyone hosting workshops, and most importantly, all of you participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Liisa, for your presentation. And you had very interesting points. And I have to say that I'm very fan of these statistics because they reveal so much. And this 48% of women are using internet now. And that's very low. And this is very important facts, I think, when we think about, for example, the digitalization and how much the world is going to the direction of that we have algorithms saying what kind of decisions we are making, and if there is only male designing these algorithms, so we might be a little bit in problem with that. if it's okay, at this stage, I would like to show you this kind of like infographic that I have made about 10 facts of women in the world. Because after your presentation and you were showing these statistics, I want to reveal this, if it's okay.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, please. Yes, thank you very much. So when it was a Women's Day this year, so I made these 10 facts about women. So this is an infographic about women. And there are some good things that have happened during, some decades. And for example, life expectancy has increased also with men and with women, and fertility rate has decreased, which is actually very good also for our world. There is now 7.9 billion people here, so we need to get the fertility rate down. But then when we think about inequality and women's position in the world, so for example, 2/3 of the world illiterate people are women, and there are over 650 million women that are alive today that are in forced marriage. So and then when we think about work situation, women earn about 77% for every dollar that men earn. And then about business and technology and work life, women are spending twice as much hours during work, doing unpaid housework than men are. And when we think about Fortune 500 companies, only 41 of them have women CEOs. And according to Statista, about 8% of the software developers are women. And the challenge is really that if only one gender is designing the technology and affecting our future, it will be biased. And it's not very good for women. And the last statistics here with the crashed car picture is saying that women when women are in car accidents, they have 47% higher risk to have severe injuries than men. And actually, this means that cars are designed for average men, and that's why women have trouble when they are having car accidents, so they are injured more severely. And for these and many other reasons, it's very important that we have women working in the field of technology. I have a background in engineering. I'm in Finnish diplomi insinööri and Master of Science in Chemical Engineering. And I had a little bit unluck in the start of my career. And the thing which was challenging for me to get a job, I didn't get a job in my in chemistry at that time. And the challenge was because there were young women and young men applying for the same job. And of course, women are riskier for employer to hire because, we can get pregnant. And so I have to actually change the career. So there are many challenges for women in the field of technology. And so that's why I think these kind of seminars are very important to talk about these challenges. Did these infographic raise some questions or ideas to you, Liisa?
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, they are very familiar to me. And when it comes to technology, I completely agree that, the biases are easily spread if there's not a variety of creators. And the car example you raised is one of the classic examples that it has only been tested. Many of the tests have only been tested with men, and I don't think that's by a deliberate reason. It's just, those who have tested things have not really come into the idea that, maybe women drive too. And with technology, it's especially important because few technological solutions are created locally or only nationally. Technology is international by nature. So whoever creates technology in one place, we are using it here in Finland or in Sudan or in Thailand as well, often.
Yeah, actually, another other statistics that I read today that was quite shocking to me was that only 2.3% of the startups that are getting venture capital funding are female-led. So I think it's amazing. So if you are female and trying to get the funding for your idea, for your startup, so it's much more difficult than men. And today, actually, I was writing and tweeting about this, that there was one male startup that's got actually 30,000 euros funding, and the innovation of these male entrepreneurs was a pink glove removing a tampon. And that got 30,000 euros from a male investors. So this was, it's a, in a way funny, but it's in a way quite disturbing fact that how much easier it might be for a male to get funding for their even stupid ideas than a female, because in the same competition they were female having these kind of like ecological clothes for underwear for menstruation and that you can wash, but they didn't get any funding for that, and so that's a little bit sad. And these are something that we have to realize, and then that's the only possibility when realizing them, to notice that there is really fault in the system and we have to do something to correct this.
That's very important.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted to raise that or point out that many of the problems that we have in tech concerning, for example, the fact that leadership positions are dominated by male and there's a wage gap for men, they are also present in many other fields, or most of other fields. So this is not just a problem within tech, but rather a societal problem and a global one, unfortunately, just like you said.
Yeah, that's so true. But thank you, Liisa, very much. And thank you being one of the organizers. This is so important topic. And now the next speaker is not here actually live. This is a pre-recording of his speech. But we are very happy to have Tomas Blomqvist, who is the Minister of Nordic Cooperation and Equality. And we will now hear his wise words.
Dear participants of the EqualiTech, I'm delighted to be able to open this seminar and to speak on an extremely important topic. Gender equality is a key theme in Finnish and Nordic politics. This year, Finland is honored to hold the presidency of the Nordic Councils of Ministers. The objective of our presidency program is active Nordic cooperation, which will help create a more inclusive and cooperative Nordic region. Gender equality will be taken into account as a cross-cutting theme in the activities of the Nordic Councils of Ministers. Gender equality is a fundamental human right, and equal participation of all sexes should be seen as a strength to the entire society. Finland is often seen as a pioneer in terms of gender equality. Still, gender equality has not yet been fully achieved in Finland, and there is a lot of work to be done. Many gender inequalities are strongly related to working life. Finland has an exceptionally segregated labour market, even at the EU level. This can be seen from primary school throughout working life. Segregation has many unwanted effects. It maintains gender pay inequalities and reproduces stereotyped concepts of what kind of tasks men and women should perform in working life. Women are overrepresented in the fields of healthcare, social sciences, journalism and information and education. Men are overrepresented in the fields of technology, manufacturing and construction, ICT and natural sciences, mathematics and statistics. The service, business, administrative and legal sectors are as common among men as among women. The fields of science, technology, engineering and mathematics are considered very important for the future and for the increasingly digitalized labor market. The majority of those graduating from these fields are still men. Compared to other Nordic countries, in fact, Finland has the lowest number of women graduated from these sectors. Discrimination continues to exist in working life. Women clearly experience discrimination more often than men. In addition to gender, factors such as age and origin are often included. Discrimination in terms of pregnancy and family leave is one of the key equality problems that still exist in all sectors. A central goal and guiding principle is equal pay for work of equal value, regardless of gender. In reality, we are not there yet. The pay gap between women and men has narrowed very slowly over the past 30 years and is currently around 16%. The pay gap is a combination of a number of structural factors such as gender-based segregation of working life, gender-based distribution of care, and undervaluation of women-dominated sectors. We need to better understand the underlying structures that lead to pay differences and discrimination, and we need to find ways to overcome them. Gender equality is considered important in workplaces in the field of technology. At the same time, research shows that the field of technology is often a masculine sphere. There are also wage inequalities in the field of technology. According to a study, higher educated women in tech earn on average 95% of men's salaries. We are talking about an unexplained pay gap of 5%. The unequal and gendered career advancement is also present in the field of technology. The higher the position, the more likely it is to be held by a man. Men move to management tasks more often and more quickly than women. What can we do at workplaces to promote gender equality? Gender-based segregation of working life or wage inequality are structural problems, but structures can be changed. Inequality is not a law of nature. At workplaces, it is extremely important for the management to commit to promoting gender equality. For instance, through up-to-date equality plans that are put into practice and monitored. Structures do not change by themselves, but require awareness and concrete actions. Organizational culture also plays an important role. Workplaces should have an atmosphere that respects equality and accepts diversity. Inappropriate or discriminatory behavior needs to be addressed quickly and efficiently. It is also important to address pay inequality. Increasing pay transparency is one way of eliminating pay discrimination. The Finnish government is currently preparing legislation on the matter. In addition to preventing discrimination, a more transparent pay culture also promotes job satisfaction and general well-being in the long term. Dear participants, I wish you a very fruitful and thought-provoking webinar on this important matter.
Thank you very much, Tomas, for your presentation. Even though you can't hear now my words, here you have something else to do, but it was very nice to have this pre-recording of Tomas Blomqvist having his views about equality and talking about the discrimination and how to cope with the discrimination. And I really liked one of the sentences saying that structures do not change themselves. Yeah, Yeah, that's true. So we have to really notice that what is the problem. And then when we notice the problem, we have to do something. And this is something me as a futurist, as a futures researcher, I'm always saying that when we think about the future, you have to realize that what are the facts here? What are the challenges? You have to open your eyes to the challenges here, and only then you can do something. The first thing is to realize, the next thing is to do something to create a better future. And as we have heard, there are many reasons why should we encourage inequality, for example, in the society all over, but especially in the field of technology. One of the things what I'm doing myself, I have this project called Tiedettä tytöille, Science for Girls. And the idea of the project is actually to encourage even the little girls to be interested in science, technology, mathematics, and so on, STEM subject. Engineering was the one word in the STEM. And I have these web pages, and then I have had this different kind of project. One of the project was that I was doing this kind of videos called Tyttö innostu tekniikasta, Girl Get Inspired by Technology. And in these videos, I was interviewing women working in different companies, organizations, and in the field of technology. And the idea in that was that little girls and even little older girls are needing some good examples of what it's like to be as a woman and working in the field of technology. And that's what I think is very important. And also actually in this project we were collecting money, or in this case we were collecting money for computers, laptops, and giving these laptops to the kids living in the families that are quite poor here in Finland, because actually till now the challenge for getting education have been sometimes that these kids do not have money to buy computers, and that's very sad thing. Luckily, this is now changing next year, and for the second grade education is going to be free for everyone. So nobody shouldn't have the situation that they can't go to Lukio, for example, because they do not have money to buy a computer or the book. So it's going to be free, and that's very good for the future. And okay, but anyway, if you are interested in looking at this Tiedettä tytöille stuff, so go to www.tiedettätytöille.fi, so you can find some of the ideas of this Tiedettä tytöille. And then other thing that I've been doing to try to encourage even the little girls to get excited about STEM subject is that I've been writing a book for little kids, and I wrote the book with my friend who is a space science physicist, very well-known physicist in the world, Minna Palmroth, and we wrote a book about this princess girl and lion girl, and then they were trying to find the secret of the universe. And in this children's book we have crazy scientist women there, and I think that this is also very important to have these role models for little girls, that okay, you can be interested in space science even though you are a princess girl, so you don't have to be like this boy girl to get excited about technology, even though you are a little princess, so you can be excited about the technology. To be honest, I have a little princess girl, and she wants to be particle physicist. I had to a little bit think about the word. It's not nuclear physicist, but particle physicist. She's now a big girl and not a princess anymore. But being a princess and being excited about the nature and the STEM subject isn't a problem, and shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, now the next speaker we have here is a good example of women working in the field of technology. We have Saara Kujala here. I'm very happy to have you here. And Saara Kujala is heading the Global Business Development Function at Wärtsilä Energy Business. And when, again, we talk about the future, one of the big challenges is the energy challenges. So how do we solve that? Because it's linked directly to the climate change. And Saara, I'm very happy to have you here. And now the floor is yours. Please, you can have your speech here.
Thank you, Elina. And very, very nice to be here speaking with all of you. So very, very good and sunny morning from Espoo. I have 10-15 minutes about future fuels for sustainability. And I, of course, hope that this topic inspires you also for a career in energy technology and with future fuels, since these are one of the key solutions for a cleaner world from now onwards. Like Elina said, I'm heading the global business development at Wärtsilä. I would say that our team in Wärtsilä's energy business, we are the team with the crystal ball. We are not a very typical business development team, but we are actually looking probably at least 2 steps into the future. We are using complicated software and power system modeling to understand and analyze how the energy transition plays out across the globe in different countries. When we think about Wärtsilä and Wärtsilä Energy, that is actually supplying engine-based power plants, energy storage systems to provide the needed flexibility for power systems that are running on renewables. We have to be able to help our customers to also analyze from their point of view, what does the energy transition mean for them? What kind of renewable energy assets they should be investing in? What kind of flexibility needs do they have? And also take feedback back to Wärtsilä so that we as a technology company also know on what type of technologies we should be investing in into the future. Let's move to the next slide, because here is also a bit of a recap. Why do we have such a dedicated power system modeling team in Wärtsilä's energy business? It is because as a business, we are committed on driving the world towards 100% renewable energy future. This is something that's really important for us. We have invested in technology portfolio that can help our customers to integrate the needed renewable energy sources, as we can provide then the flexibility to the power systems. But it also means a big change for Wärtsilä, because to be honest, today still most of our engine-based power plants are running on fossil fuels. And in order to be truly taking even the final step to 100% renewable energy future, it then means that we also have to be ready and prepared to be operating on those future fuels. If we move to the next slide, I have here a bit of a summary on what do the future fuels mean when I talk about them. We have, of course, the fuels that are already available today with biogas, forest-based fuels, but actually to make a big scale on supporting renewable energy, we need to also stop taking fossil fuels out from the ground and move to a more circular approach where we utilize the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, combine it with hydrogen that will be produced in electrolysis process to make out of the water, to split the molecules into hydrogen and oxygen, and hydrogen together with CO2 can then be combined in the various fuels, and that way, like you can see on the slide on the right hand side, we move to a system where the CO2 emissions are recycled. We can store the energy into the fuel, utilize it in transportation, in industry, or in power generation, and the same CO2 is then released in the utilization back to the atmosphere. So that's the basic principle of future fuels. we can, through different processes, produce basically all the fuels that are in utilization to get already today. Hydrogen in itself is one of those fuels, but methane, gasoline, diesel, kerosene that will be needed in heavy transportation, for example. If we move to the next slide then, if you are interested on learning a little bit more on what the 100% renewable energy systems look like, I would encourage all of you to check out wärtsilä.com/atlas, where our team has actually published a global map of our power system modeling for 100% renewable energy systems. And that basically shows country by country on, for example, in Finland, how much wind energy should we have, how much solar energy should we have, hydro, battery energy storage, and then these future fuels basically for long-term storage of power systems. It's available there, and it's actually quite nice to play with. Something that I also wanted to say related to the future fuels in relation to the Atlas is that based on our system modeling and especially of this 100% renewable energy Atlas, we have identified that for the power sector alone, there will be about 900 gigawatts of demand for electrolyzer capacity to produce the needed future fuels. Now, I just need to be very specific that even though the amount is huge, all the primary energy needs will be from the wind, solar, and other renewable energy sources. So the power to X fuels are just their main purpose is to provide the long-term energy storage. And therefore support the energy system over, for example, winter period where we might not have as much renewable energy available, but we have a high energy demand, and then the storage can be replenished through the summertime. By contrast with battery energy storage, where that you can also see in this atlas how they play out, they are more used for day-to-day storage to balance the intermittent renewable energy generation. If we then move to next slide, I know a lot of people are wondering, I know many in my team and probably all of us also, on what are the costs of these future fuels, and then also what's the timeline on when do we expect to see them. On this graph, I have illustrated the different cost levels on certain energy sources. It's all in euro per megawatt hour basis, so they are comparable. And if you look at the graph from left to right, first of all, we have a typical cost of wind electricity today, some 30 euros per megawatt hour here in Finland. If that is then utilized to produce either hydrogen in an electrolysis process or then furthermore synthetic methane in also including biomethanation, that because of some efficiency losses in the conversion process, we see that the energy component or the cost of electricity is the most important cost component in the cost of carbon neutral hydrogen or synthetic methane. And that you can see how with the dark blue area in the methane and hydrogen cost level. In addition to that, for those fuels, there's also some operation and maintenance cost and some capital cost because there needs to be investment into the production facilities. Now, it's quite evident from the graph also that compared to the current price of natural gas, the dark gray area there on the second item is the typical natural gas cost level in Europe, and the light gray area is then the additional taxation that, for example, here in Finland is paid for natural gas. That despite the taxation on the fossil fuels, they are still a more cost-efficient way to produce energy today. But on the other hand, we can see that compared to renewable energy, that's not the case anymore. So what does it mean? What would have to be done to actually make these future fuels cost effective or competitive with fossil type? There are three main issues that are needed, and these are listed on the left-hand side of the graph. So first of all, because electricity is the most important cost component, the low-cost renewable energy is absolutely a must to make hydrogen or synthetic methane, other future fuel production feasible. Of course, because of the intermittent renewable energy, it is at times quite cost effective when there's too much of it. But actually, because to secure sufficient running hours for the production processes, we need to have cost effective or low cost renewable electricity available almost all the time. The other element is the price of equipment, so that's the orange area in the graphs. Of course, the good thing is that, for example, with the electrolysis equipment, they are quite modular, so we can expect that there will be economies of scale in manufacturing, the same way as we have seen with the solar industry, that would drive down the cost. But also there is a need for investment subsidies from governments to basically kickstart the industry. And I think we are already seeing signs, especially in the EU, that this will happen. The third thing is then the creation of the market for these power-to-X fuels or future fuels. That can happen by improving their competitiveness, by taxing fossil fuels more, on making sure that the CO2 emission rights have a price level in EU that supports the synthetic fuels, but also mandating their use, for example, with the schemes to blend them with the fossil fuels, as we are now seeing, for example, in Finland. If we still go to the next slide, I think something that I left unanswered in the previous slide is the timeline. Maybe some of you are wondering, based on this cost information, that hey, it's going to take forever before these future fuels are going to be today. I would still say that's not the case, and especially not in Finland, because the very good element that we have here is that we have a possibility for sector coupling. That's meaning that when we produce synthetic fuels or the future fuels, like I say here, there is a possibility to use the waste heat in the production process and utilize that in, for example, in district heating, and also to decouple the utilization with the transportation sector. A very good example of that kind of a project is the collaboration that Wärtsilä is having with Vantaan Energia, where we have been working on a concept feasibility for a power to gas project since about May last year, becoming finalized with quite nice results for a project that would have an electrolyzer capacity of 20 megawatts, and that would then produce in a biological methanation process about 10 megawatts of output of synthetic methane. And that would then be utilized in a local waste trucks and other heavy traffic in Vantaan area, thereby directly reducing fossil fuel use in the transportation. There's also some information available publicly in press release, and so a really interesting project, and the development is continuing. I think that's all that I think I can tell about the future fuels, given the time limitations. I would love to hear your questions, and of course you are always free to reach out to me if you would like to hear more about this topic and our power system modeling towards 100% renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Saara, very much for your interesting presentation. I have a couple of questions to you, and I have to say that my questions are based on my job as a futurist. So this is a hypothetical question. So if you would be a dictator in the world and you could choose the energy palette for the future, sustainable future, what would you do? What are the sources for energy that you would choose to that? What are the best to solve the climate change crisis?
Thanks, Elina. And actually, it's good that I'm heading the team with the crystal ball, because I don't see this question to be very hypothetical, but we have, based on our power system and energy system modeling, quite clear view on that one. And it's clear that I would say that the components are wind energy and solar energy. in addition to the existing renewable energy that we already have from hydro, geothermal. Maybe there's some additional potential for those, but because of their cost effectiveness, we will see massive amount of wind and solar globally in energy systems. Then we need battery energy storage, especially in places where there's a lot of solar energy. So because we don't have solar at nights and in the evening time, so the battery energy storage is really the best and again most cost-effective way to move that excess solar to evening and nighttime. And then we need these power to X production facilities, then coupled with another like flexible technologies that are still able to burn those not fossil, but carbon neutral fuels for situations, for example, in Finland, we may have very, very cold but energy intensive winter times where there's a longer need of excess electricity, not enough renewables available, and overall for system balancing and for resilience. And then, so that's the power sector. And then if we think about the whole energy system, we also need sector coupling. So little bit what I was showing from the project way in Vantaa. So when we integrate, we get transportation with electric vehicles, heavy transportation with these synthetic fuels. There are links that will support the systems, make them integrate, and also improve the overall energy efficiency. So that would be the decision.
Okay, good. Then I remember I was writing a book about future of technology and it was published in 2014. I wrote it with my husband, and one of the things that we were writing was the future of energy, of course. And for many, many years, I would say that many decades, we have been talking about the fusion energy. What do you think about that? Will we have the cheap fusion energy in the future? What is your guess that when would we have a cheap fusion energy?
That's actually a really good question, Elina. And I remember also in when I was young and at school, there was a lot of discussion about fusion energy and when will it come. But I have to say for the recent years, I haven't heard anything. And it can be that either because it has been silent or then because I have not been paying attention. And of course, that energy type would basically have then limited potential. I would say that why it's not talked about so much at the moment is that because we are all already making such good progress with wind and solar energy, and especially now that there's a lot of pressure now to reduce the CO2 emissions quickly. The advantage of the renewable energy types that we have available today is that we can implement them really, really quickly. And maybe that's also, I hope it's not taking away R&D from technologies like fusion, but I think it will little bit maybe reduce the immediate interest, because even in the best case, I think those technologies will, we talk about tens of years instead of a few years when they would come.
And actually, if you are thinking about the future, like fusion energy, we are getting a little bit cheaper fusion energy from sun. Isn't that
yes.
so?
That's a good point.
We have the fusion reactor there when we look at the skies, so quite close to us. And as you said, the alternative energies, the price of that has been decreasing all the time. So that is a good solution for the future. Hey, I would like to thank you very much for your interesting presentation. And now all the audience, you have the contact information of Saara. So if you have any questions, I think that Saara wouldn't mind if you are sending those questions directly to her about the future of energy, which is very important issue when we think about the future and when we think about the climate change. Next speaker we have here is Simo Säynevirta, and he's digital lead at ABB, and he has been he has 27 years career spanning many roles, from hands-on technology development to leading global teams. And he is a firm believer in diversity as one of the key factors behind building the great teams. So, Simo, I'm very happy to have you here, and please, you have some wise words to the audience. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Elina. So I'm going to talk about a little bit the similar topic like in the previous discussion. I'm going to talk about green electrification 2035, and that is all about how do we make this transition towards a carbon neutral society with the help of green and digital transformation. Next slide, please. Before we go there, a few words about ABB, because it may be that not all of you know the company. Actually, I can anecdotally say that when I joined the company 27 years ago, I didn't know what ABB was doing, and certainly I wasn't aware that there are such exciting things that I ended up kind of keeping me there for all this year. So ABB is really a technology company that has been pushing the boundary for what is possible for over 130 years. And that's also true here in Finland. We have essentially brought the electricity to the country, and today we develop some fundamental core technologies here. And also we are hosting over 5,000 employees. Majority of our business is export from here, and we have also very substantial R&D activities in Finland. What we do, we are the world leading company when it comes to electricity and when it comes to intelligent automation in all of its forms. And what you see on the right there, that is our collaborative robot Yumi. And actually now for this time, when we have been living in these COVID times, this shows some new use cases for industrial robotics. We are talking about laboratory activities in the medical sector. So that is all what we do. And in the next slide, if we then go into the why and how we do that, we spent last year quite some time in dialogue with all our stakeholders, or our employees, our customers, our partners, to really crystallize what is ABB all about, what is the purpose, and what is the way how we kind of achieve that purpose. And we summarized it in these three sentences that you see on the slide. So we succeed by creating superior value. So we want to create value for our stakeholders, customers, the society at large. But we are at the heart of ourselves. We are really a technology company. We push the boundary of technology, and it's why we do it. We want to drive the performance to new levels. And then really the ultimate goal is that we want to be an active player in energizing the transformation that the whole society needs to make towards a more productive, sustainable future. What is at the center of it is that we have technologies, we have capabilities, we have partners with whom we can address the world energy challenges, what we heard also in the previous presentation about. We want to transform the industries, we want to embed the sustainability, and we want to lead with the technology capability. In the next slide then, if we look at kind of how do we put it together, it really forms a kind of a integrated circular setting where everything is basically linked together. So on the left, if we look at kind of what we want to do, we want to enable a low carbon society. And then how we do it on the right, we in our own operation also, we want to preserve the resources, and we want to help our customers, partners do the same in their own operations. But then it is kind of very important how we do it. We want to be having kind of some core values like the integrity and transparency in this, so be kind of really good corporate citizen in these aspects. And then at the center of it is the social aspect, and that is today's seminar's core focus as well. So how do we do it? We want to really do it in the right way for the people, for the society, our partners and communities. So that's kind of in one picture what ABB purpose is all about. But then if we could drill a little bit deeper into the sustainability aspect of it, in the next slide, looking at the targets that we concretely have set for ourselves. When we say that we want to enable a low carbon society, we have set the firm target to be carbon neutral in all of our own operations by 2030. So all of our activities, they will be carbon neutral by that time. But not only that, our technologies and solutions, they have a big carbon handprint, and via that we want to, by 2030, be on an annual basis helping our customers reducing their CO2 emissions by over 100 megatons. And then, of course, we want to look at all of the emission scopes, so also look at the supply chains, so what our suppliers and distributors, how they can reduce the emissions in their own operations. We design our solutions to be 80% circular approach, and then there should be zero waste to landfills. Of course, here in Finland, for instance, that has been the case for quite some time, but in world at large, that is in some areas still new. And then on the right, looking at the social progress, we want to take care of our own people and our contractors, people working for us. And then we have defined a very comprehensive diversity and inclusion framework that covers gender equality, but also the other aspects of the diversity. And we have set a specific target that among the ABB leaders, there should be at least 25% women on all the levels. Today, that's not the case. So if you look at kind of this, these kind of companies, like discussed earlier, we have a problem of having too few women in the as our employees in the first place, and then particularly when it comes to higher ranks, this has to change. So that's kind of in concrete terms what we are striving to achieve, and we want to be transparent about it. So this needs to be something that is very open to be observed from outside. Next slide, please. If we then dig into kind of what is the context of what is now happening in the world around us, and here are a couple of little bit busy slides or graphs showing the EAA energy policies towards 2040. So what are the world at large, what is going to happen in the energy sector, and particularly here now looking at the electricity generation. The first scenario on the left is the stated policy scenarios. That's kind of extrapolating from where we are today and then using the measures that have been stated so far. And then on the right, we have the so-called sustainable development scenario. So what would need to happen in the energy system so that we can reach the Paris Treaty targets. And what is noteworthy here is that the electricity demand is going to rise quite drastically. So from the 2020 levels, some 45 to 50% increase in the sheer amount of electricity that we consume and produce. But what's really the key point here is that the mix of this generation is going to be drastically changing. So today, if we look at, for instance, here in Finland, the renewable energy out of our generation, it is some 12% or so of the generation mix in today's situation. But if we look at in the world at large, by 2040, and we are taking the sustainable development scenario, it's going to be 71% of all the electricity coming from renewables. And now, because this is weather dependent, we cannot plan how wind is blowing. It's going to be causing a big shift in this system. So we have to really manage this development properly. Next slide, please. Here, looking at the differences between these scenarios, also from CO2 emission avoidance point of view. So where do the reductions come in between these two scenarios? We can see that it is twofold in a way. We have the electrification being increased, and then we need to be energy efficient. So the orange reduction comes from the technology performance, essentially energy efficiency improvements. And then the new renewable energy, and then hydrogen also playing the rest of the 40% role. All in all, what that means is that we have to be managing this system in much more flexible and clever way. It means for our distribution energy networks, new models. It means that we have to have energy storages in all forms. And then there is a massive demand for energy and material efficiency solutions. But key point is we need to deploy what we already have. So in the questions after the previous presentation, there was a discussion about the fusion energy. I think that there is a good promise on some of the new technologies solving some of these challenges. But now, because the timeline is so demanding, we have to make sure that we use all what we already have. That is now supported by high amount of public funding available, so we have a possibility to actually advance on this. Next slide, please. And like I said, energy demand doesn't go away, and electricity growth is going to be key here. What I just want to point out that we consume some 50% of that electricity actually in electrical motors, and how we make those efficient in the right way is at heart of this energy efficiency challenge as well. Next slide, please. So what we do about it, and this is now the program that we launched beginning of this year, ABB Green Electrification 2035. From ABB side, we are developing the platform technologies that enable this change. So how do we make the powertrains more efficient? How do we build the digital platforms that allow us to optimize the whole system? And how do we do it in a cyber-secure way so that we can keep the systems resilient? But then it is not just ABB that delivers these solutions. The key is that we work together with partners in an ecosystem that can then together address these challenges. And we need to tackle the entire chain from generation of renewable electricity through the energy networks, through the Power-to-X conversions into the usage of this energy in various forms. So be it logistics, transportation, be it industry, so be it cities that we live in. And that's a program we now optimize this system with. Next slide, please. It is organized in a 5-year development, and then we run this in a kind of a phased fashion, concentrating first on some of these key new aspects, like enabling the Power-to-X technologies, or how to make the energy networks in these new constellations resilient. But all the target is that we with this green electrification, we can achieve a climate neutral Finland by 2035. And what we are very happily now observing is that this target is shared by a lot of other countries in the recent months. Next slide. So in order to kind of summarize, I think we have exciting times ahead. So when we address the world's sustainability challenges, we have to very rapidly transform the entire energy system all the industries and society. Technology is key to achieve this. And then ABB, we want to play a role actively here, energizing this transformation and pushing the boundaries of what technology can help us achieve. But then I would say that you have a key role as well. So whoever listening today, if you are making a career choice where you should spend your working life, I think it's important to note that everybody can make a contribution, and that applies to you as well. So what I would like to challenge you with is that let's join and write the future together. Thank you.
Thank you, Simo, very much. And again, this was very interesting presentation, and I'm happy that you are so ambitious in working for the better future. I remember starting my career about 20 years ago and going to different companies to have my speeches about the future, and I was talking about the climate change. And I remember at that time I have to say to companies that, come on, this is a big issue, take this seriously. If you don't believe in this, your customers do believe in that. So you work on that. But today I'm very happy I don't have to say this anymore to any companies, any of my customers, organization. Now everybody is understanding that this is really a big issue and we need to do something. And I'm very happy that your business at ABB is to create the better world and better future by creating these green solutions to energy. But I have one question for you. As a woman, why should I go to work to ABB?
It's a great question. Let's say I'm not a woman, so I can't basically personal kind of reflection. I can't use it as a basis. But I think the point what I said at the beginning, I think we need now, in order to kind of make these changes happen, we need diversity as one of the key source of innovation. And if we now leave like that, okay, there are no women, so if there are like the middle-aged men like myself that are defining how the future look like, we are totally missing kind of very important viewpoints. And then on the other hand, I think the kind of people haven't considered, okay, what previously that, okay, what do I want to, what do I kind of want to do with my career? So what is the impact of I want to make? And if you want to make an impact to kind of building the better future, no matter whether you are a woman or a man, but I think I would say that this is one of the places where you can really make an impact. So these things that we develop, these things that we provide for our partners and customers, they really save the CO2 emissions. They really can build a better future. And then if you choose a place where your contribution makes a difference, then okay, this is one of the places where that is the case. So I would say no matter whether you are a woman or whether you are a man, I would say that at least to me, myself, that would be the motivation I would join.
Yes, so, sounds very good. I'm signing my application soon to ABB. But one of the things also is that you said that you are targeting to having 25% of women in leadership. What are the practical things that you are now doing inside of ABB to get women more interested in energy field and electrical engineering and to get them interested in working at ABB?
Okay, this type of thing, what we have here right now, of course, is one example of practical thing. Bring it forward and really bring ourselves known to the people. And I think what would be very important that for girls when they are choosing what they would study, that at that point you would consider that do I take a technical field or do I kind of take something else? And I think that we need to start from that side, influencing kind of that we have women that are having the right type of education then joining. But then concretely now when we look at kind of when we are filling the positions, I think it's of course, first of all the positions, they are open and they are merit-based choices. What we are making for filling the position, so that I think is so you kind of your buddies don't choose you because you are just known and you happen to be there, but we open it for everybody. And then I would say that at the moment, if we have equal candidates, because we have this diversity target, if there's a man and a woman with equal qualifications, we would probably choose a woman at the moment. So it's very kind of strongly this target of the diversity, how to build more diverse teams in all ways, or all kinds of ways, and gender is just one aspect of it. It is very much a target of when we make choices.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. And thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting. And again, I would think that if people would have some questions to you, they could contact to you, or
absolutely.
Is it so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes. And next speaker we have is Sofia Elamson, and she is an advisor at Nordic Energy, an organization funding research and analysis to increase cooperation and energy among Nordic countries. And she's not only doing that, she's also a secretary at Nordic Energy Equality Network, and they are promoting more equal and inclusive energy sector. So Sofia, I'm very happy to have you here, and I'm very interested in hearing your presentation.
Thank you so much, Elina. And hi, everyone. My name is Sofia Elamson, and I am an advisor at Nordic Energy Research, which is an organization based in Oslo, where we, as Elina mentioned, we work to facilitate and fund research organization, cooperation and analysis in energy among the Nordic and Baltic countries. And I'm also a secretary of this network that you see here to the right, the Nordic Energy Equality Network. I will talk a bit more about that in my presentation later. One of Nordic Energy Research focus areas is what we call social acceptance in the green energy transition. And my presentation today is about this topic, which is sustainability and energy. So in my first part, I will just focus on social sustainability, and thereafter we will have a look at gender equality and how we can think about it in relation to energy. So next slide, please. So since I'm here to talk about sustainability, I would like to kind of start from scratch to remind you what we actually talk about when we talk about sustainable development. Sustainable development is something that we hear about everywhere, and I don't want to call it a buzzword, but because I think it's too important for that. But sometimes it's good to have all definitions sorted. So you can think about this as just a quick introduction course to sustainable development. Sustainable development was popularized in 1987 World Commission on Environment and Development in the so-called Brundtland Report. And you can see the definition right here. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So there you have it. And how to achieve it then? To achieve sustainability, we need to acknowledge different perspectives through development. So we have the economic perspective, but it's also the social and the environmental perspectives. And the idea is that you combine all these, kind of the three pillars of sustainability, to reach a balance. Next slide, please. And I would also like to give you some context about sustainable development and how we are working with it both globally and here in the Nordic region. You are probably familiar with the UN Sustainability Goals, which are kind of the heart of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And I have mentioned some of the goals here in my presentation: climate action, sustainable cities and communities, affordable and clean energy, and so on. But all in all, there are 17 of these goals. And these goals, they are typically incorporated into a national policy, for example. So you can have a country's climate and an environment plan, for example, that is then in line with these goals. And it's also something that companies work with, municipalities and so on. So it's kind of a tool that can be used by many different organizations. So that's the larger global framework here. What's relevant then to us at Nordic Energy Research, among other things, but it's what's decided at the Nordic Council of Ministers, which is the official body for intergovernmental cooperation in the Nordic region. And it's also an organization that is guiding a lot of the work that we perform at Nordic Energy Research. And the Nordic Council of Ministers, they have committed to this Vision 2030, which also reflects on the Sustainable Development Goals. And this vision, it says that the Nordic region will become the most sustainable and integrated region in the world. And this will be achieved through a region that is green, it's competitive, and it's also socially sustainable. So that's the kind of balance that I mentioned in my first slide. So this provides some of our framework, and then there's of course other policies and so on to consider when you're working with energy and environment issues and so on. For example, the EU Green Deal. But this is very relevant when we talk about sustainable development and then social sustainability, which is the main focus in my presentation today. Next slide, please. So I'm moving on to talk more about energy and a sustainable energy transition. So to be sustainable, the transition towards renewable energy should be environmental friendly, it should be economically viable, and to find sustainability balance, it should also include the social aspects that I've been mentioning. So what does it actually mean to include the social aspects in this transition? I've just included a few examples here. There are I'm sure there are more. They're kind of interconnecting with each other and, of course, not excluding each other. But it's basically that the transition towards green energy solutions, it shouldn't increase inequalities. It should be inclusive, and it should focus on cooperation, for example, between academia and industry, and also co-creation with users, such as communities and municipalities, which are using the energy solutions, and so on. It's also about energy justice and how the costs are distributed. And then last but not least, of course, about diversity and gender equality. So that's part of what we are talking about here. So this sounds all very nice, inclusion and equality, great values, but why is it so important to have? And I have some examples. So next slide, please. Okay. So this is most in Swedish and Norwegian, but I think most of you know this, but I will also explain a bit what we are seeing here. The first headline is from a program in Swedish radio about a wind park in the north of Sweden, where it turns out that the processes to give permission to build wind turbines may not have been fair to those that have used the land for reindeer husbandry. And the same goes also for the second headline. It's a discussion also in Norway and has actually been referred to by the Sami people as green colonialism, that you're using all these remote areas, so to speak, and you can put up wind turbines. Down to the right is also a tweet by soccer player Zlatan Ibrahimovic. This got a lot of attention in Sweden. He also criticizes the plans for a wind park in Swedish Jämtland, where he owns the land. And then I've also included a logo from Bensinupproret. I don't really have a translation, but it's a grassroots organization opposing the gas prices in Sweden. So yeah, it's a lot of focus on wind here, and it's not really the point of my presentation to make a discussion about if wind power is good or bad. But the point is that if we're missing the social aspect, there is a risk of new technologies and solutions that not being accepted. Even if the intention, new renewable energy sources, that's great, it's good for the environment. So the intention is good, but something is missing. And it might then increase inequality, and some people will feel like they are losing, that they are not included in the process, and others will be winning. And that's not the idea of social sustainability. So I think it's extremely important that we're not just brushing it off what does Zlatan know about wind power? And look at all these people who are protesting the gas prices and so on. It's actually affecting people's everyday lives. And I think it's also important, as this is a tech seminar, to note that technical advancement is not always only positive. There might always be negative side effects that weren't expected. One example could be social media, which was supposed to be this great tool for democracy, but it's also used to spread fake news and conspiracy theories, interfering in elections and so on. So it's just something to keep in mind, that the social aspect of new technology, what will actually happen, and to consider what might be side effects of this new technology. Next slide, please. So for my other part, I would like to focus on the gender equality part of the socially sustainable energy transition. And when we talk about gender and equality, there are different sides to look from. One is how we are consuming energy, how we behave, and how do we adapt to new technologies, and so on. And there are studies showing that men and women are using energy differently, for example, regarding attitudes also, and how are we adapting to new energy solutions. So that's really interesting too, but what I would like to focus on is the second point today, which is about participation. Who is actually participating in this green energy transition? And this is a question about leadership. Who is making the decisions? Whose knowledge are we including, and who's shaping the energy systems of tomorrow? And it's also about where this participation happens, who is represented in the companies, and who is represented in the research groups, or who's working in the energy authorities. I think that's also what Liisa addressed in the first presentation, who is creating our future. And the thing is that the energy sector isn't doing really great here. There are more women in the renewable energy sector compared to the traditional energy sector, but it's still quite a low number. Women are also not very well represented in leadership positions, in boards, and so on. So it's something that requires a bit of attention as part of this social perspective. Next slide, please. So even if the statistics are maybe a bit depressing, I would like to point to the overall green energy transition as an opportunity. And this is something that has been stressed also by, for example, the Global Women's Network for the Energy Transition, that as we make this radical shift from traditional energy sources and systems, and we kind of need to rethink business and our whole approach, then there might be solutions for sustainable and renewable energy that may attract younger people, employees that are more value-oriented, and structures and processes might change. So it's kind of shaking things up a little bit, and it's an opportunity for a more diverse workforce. There is not that much research about what effect a gender-balanced energy sector would have. But what we do know is that diversity increases innovation, and innovation is crucial at this point if we are to fulfill this and realize this energy transition that I've been talking about through this presentation. And it's a transition that is needed to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. 2030 is not that far away. Next slide, please. So finally, I would like to mention some of the ongoing initiatives in the Nordic region that aims at improving gender equality in energy and tech. And as mentioned in the beginning, I'm also representing the Nordic Energy Equality Network, which is a network that is promoting gender equality in the Nordic energy sector. And we want to make the sector more visible, to attract more women, to show it's quite fun to work in the energy sector. It's a really interesting field to work within. And we also strive to promote female role models. And one way that we are doing this is by offering a list of women experts on our website, which is NEEN.network. And this is available, for example, if you're looking for an expert in energy, wind power, for example, or hydrogen or anything. And you need an expert for your event, a panel, you need a speaker or someone to interview, or your recruiter, and so on. So that's an easy but I think quite effective way to show that there's a lot of competence in this sector. We're also publishing a report this year providing some information about gender diversity in the Nordic energy sector. How does it actually look in companies, in academia, and so on. I would also like to mention our national sister organizations listed here that are doing great work in their respective country. And also another Nordic organization, which is Nordic Innovation, who's offering a program for female entrepreneurs. So there are some good examples of efforts are being done to improve the sector, but there are, of course, a lot that can be done also within organizations and companies. Just like Simo said before, everyone can contribute. And if I'm correct, I think that we will hear a bit more about it from the remaining speakers. So I'm looking forward to listening to it. We can move to my final slide. And with this, I think it only remains to say thank you for inviting me here and thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you very much, Sofia, for your presentation. I have to say that I'm a big fan of UN Sustainable Development Goals, and I've been saying that every organization should have a big painting of these Sustainable Development Goals in the indoor hall or somewhere that everybody would remind them every day. I think they are so important. I'm very fascinated of the network that you are working, and I would like to ask you that how would organizations be more diverse? What are the actions that they should take?
Yeah, I think that there is a lot that can be done that is general for all companies, not only in energy or tech. I think there are some quite standard procedures almost that you can do. And I think it's good to start with just reviewing your structures and your work environment and have a look at, for example, when it comes to parental leave, for example, childcare, and how flexible are your work environment arrangements. And think about does everyone have equal opportunities for example, leadership positions in my company? So I think that's very important. Also, if you want to make a change, that you have some kind of key performance indicators or similar, because it's quite easy for any organization to put together a gender equality policy or saying that we want to be more diverse, but then how are we actually following up this? How are we doing every year? Are we improving or are we actually going backwards? So I think it's good to talk about it, but it's also good to set some goals, because if you're not measuring it, it's just a risk of being nice, but quite empty words. I also think that if you find yourself in a leader position, you have a chance, for example, if you're part of a steering board, you have a good chance to make an impact, to actually demand to see more equality and diversity in the workplace. So if you're in that position, you should use it.
Yeah, that's very important. And I think the keywords that you were saying is that you have to measure the diversity and equality. And it's also one thing that you have to measure it all the time. You don't just achieve the equality and that's it then. You have to measure, because it can sometimes go down and not higher and higher, the diversity in the organization. So that's why it's very important to keep eye on it. This is a very important issue. Thank you, Sofia, very much for your presentation. And again, if some of you in the audience have some questions to Sofia, I think, would it be okay if they directly contact you?
Of course,
if they have
of course.
Yes, that's very good. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Next speaker that we have here is Zydrune Vitaite, and I'm very sorry about my pronunciation. I probably pronounced it wrong. But we are very happy to have you here, and she's the head of sales at a technology company called ELDES, and also she's a co-founder of Women Go Tech. And what is Women Go Tech? It's a first mentorship program in Lithuania that aims to help women to start to accelerate their careers in IT and engineering sectors. And throughout its 5 seasons that it has been there, over 300 women have found themselves in tech and made the change in their careers. So I'm very happy to have you here, Torain, and I'm very eagerly waiting to hear your speech.
Thank you very much. Saying hi to audience, to all multiple countries, I'd say, and very pleased to be here. And as you commented, share a bit of the practical experience, practical examples of what Women Go Tech, the program that we created in Lithuania, has seen in the last 5 years, on what the industry could achieve when fighting for gender equality in tech. Let's go to the next slide and see. I very much liked the previous comment that gender equality is something that you not just measure and achieve and stay at a certain position. With the recent World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Index ranking, we see that here today even we are talking with a region that is definitely on top of the Global Gender Gap Index. Why should we even care about something? I'm very happy that Lithuania jumped by the 25 positions recently, but is that enough? Is that sufficient? And the next slide shows that actually not, because in many positions, especially in the tech positions, with the cloud computing, with the data-focused specialties, we are still so much behind. Just right before this presentation, I had a workshop and discussion with my company within the technology sector, what it is we should do to attract talent. It's not even speaking about the gender, but we are missing out the 50%, nearly 50% of the population, because we just simply do not have candidates for our R&D department. So for us with Women Go Tech, it was important to look into the situation within the tech sector and see what is our contribution to change the numbers. Let's go to the next slide, because I think that we live in the context, even particular years, with the COVID-19 as the accelerator of the digitalization in many sectors, many industries, where the talent demand is increasing at the enormous amounts of candidates needed per company, on talents needed per industry, per sector. We see that over the last nearly decade, the demand for the ICT specialists in EU has grown by nearly 40% in comparison to the 6.9 on the total employment. And with the ICT industry, although we, Lithuania, Finland, we are on the top of the EU countries by the percentage of the women engaged in the sector, we see that even in Lithuania last year, there was a shortage of nearly 13,000 specialists, and women are not the majority there. So with Women Go Tech team, we were sitting and thinking what it is that we can do to change that situation. And 5 years ago, in Lithuania, we established the initiative called Women Go Tech, as mentioned, the first mentorship program to really focus on the change making in the industry by getting women into technology sector. And at that time, we had no answer what it takes to generate the result, to ensure that women not are only motivated, but they do make the first, the second, and the third step to get into those into the first job, into the first internship, and start engagement with the technology sector. So what we did over the course of the nearly 5 seasons, I'd say, in the next slide you can see, is we managed to achieve 305 women already working in the tech sector thanks to Women Go Tech. These are the participants that came into the program by saying, yes, we are willing to get into the technology sector and do whatever it takes to get the first job, first internship, to be advanced in their career by changing the specialties, and make sure that they stay within the sector thanks to the support from the industry that we were managing to achieve. And we have also built the community of the, I always say, champions, who promote gender equality within the sector by nearly 12,000 tech-driven women, experts, companies who are startups, who are corporates in the industry, helping to create this buzz around equality within the technology sector. We're very happy. We are supported by the leading companies. We have received the support by the president, Dalia Grybauskaitė, starting from the season 1 to really make sure that there is a shift in Lithuania, and not only. With the next slide, I would give a comparison, because when we think, 305 success stories, what does that mean for an industry? What is the number? And I always, when I speak to the international audiences, that always is a tiny fraction of what we are looking into. But what we did with Women Go Tech, we analyzed, so what does that number mean? And in the period of 2017 to 2020, we had 421 participants at the mentorship program in Lithuania, when only 748 women were in general studying ICT studies over the course of 2017-2020. So what that means, even though the 305 success stories generated by Women Go Tech is a small number, this is nearly 40% of what the entire educational system could do in Lithuania in the same period of time. So this grassroots initiative that combined the support from the industry, companies who are willing to help, experts who are willing to share their knowledge, and they were able to contribute to the change making within the ICT sector by 40%. And running Women Go Tech mentorship program with the throughout these 5 years, we learned several things, several components that I would like to share today with you that most probably could be found across the different industries in many cases, or different markets, in particular when we talk about the ICT sector. So with Women Go Tech, when we started, if we go to the next slide, we saw one important aspect that we always are familiar with the term glass ceiling, right? That it's very tough to get approved to go into the managerial position, C-suite, to be part of the boards for women, because of the pipeline issue, because of the stereotypes and various barriers that are visible or invisible in most of the cases. But with Women Go Tech, we noticed that there is another term so much present, especially amongst the ICT and engineering sectors, is the sticky floor concept. The lack of trust, self-confidence, even a poor knowledge on what are the opportunities within the sector, and if I am capable to have a secure even the junior position within the industry. There were lots of women who came into Women Go Tech, applied to the program with a really strong self-confidence issue to be accepted within the industry, because it's a men-driven world. It's impossible to ask some questions that you should have known from the childhood, on the computers, on the special terms, etc. All the meetups would be not so welcoming women, because you just simply don't find examples, etc., etc. When we interviewed hundreds of women, we noticed that there is not only the inspiration and empowerment that is needed. We noticed that women also need a very practical, very tangible support to start working on their tech goals. And what we did, in the 2017, with the next slide we can go, we wanted, to test, is that enough to inspire, or we need something else, and let's try to offer expert and mentorship support to women who expressed their interest to get into tech field. With the season 1, we wanted to test that if that might be of an interest, because maybe we are just shooting to a different direction. And we noticed we wanted to select at least like 40 women who would be interested in working for a long time, working for 6 to 9 months on their career goals to enter the sector. And with us selecting 40 experts who are willing to volunteer and help them, we noticed that nearly 300 women applied to get into the program and start working on it. Within the years, right now you can see the graph on the numbers of how many of the applicants we have per season, how many experts join us from year to year. Right now, Women Go Tech is operating in Lithuania and Latvia, and we have nearly 1,600 women applying in the season 5, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 1,600 women applying to get the support, to get this encouragement, to get this advice from industry experts to really make the first step, to really get out of the sticky floor aspect and continue working on something that would secure the job position in the course of the 1 year. We also noticed, and we go to the next slide, that when we started in 2017, to work in tech, that pretty much meant to do a programming job. There was a very little awareness on what tech means, what it is to work in tech, what kind of specialties you have, how different personalities can match different jobs within the tech. And with Women Go Tech, we started speaking about opportunities in tech and how diverse specialties might be. That there is a programming front end, back end, there is also data analysis, there is a cloud computing, there is the IT project management, there is a quality assurance specialties, and there is so much you can do while being in tech, which you are most probably not aware yet. And right now, this is an example of what kind of technology tracks we have within the program that we started to introduce, I think, in the mid of the program, that really look deeper into the skills needed for the job, into the career path, into various milestones that candidates, those who are willing to requalify, should take to get into one or the other field and match their personality with the best suiting career path in technology. We right now, as I commented, run in 2 markets. Let's go to the next slide. We run in 2 markets. It's Lithuania and Latvia. That's the picture showing the opening ceremony for the season 4, when we are able to meet physically, so we can fit the entire room of the tech-shaped minds, mentors, experts, in the large conference center. So I always use that to remember on what does it mean to work with a tangible community. But we have nearly 520 mentees right now. We have roughly 400 mentors and experts who are really sharing their knowledge that they have on the volunteering basis. And we have various tracks to explain what tech is, but very much from Women Go Tech perspective, focusing on the result, on the goal to get the first job, to get the first internship, to advance in their career in the technology, to secure the leadership positions, managerial positions, or sometimes even shift from the sector to from the specialty to specialty, so that we have those practical examples, practical role models who share their experience of being in tech, not only the aspirations at some point to get into the sector, right? Let's go to the next slide. We have also noticed that the COVID-19 has escalated not only digital transformations for the companies, and that means more vacancies for techie people, but we have also noticed that there is this crisis, and also the unemployment numbers are not in favor to women. And we, even in the first wave of the pandemic in Lithuania, we measured that there were twice as many women who lost their jobs because of the construction of the sectors, women-dominated jobs in the service sectors that became really vulnerable during this pandemic. And we noticed that this is an opportunity to focus. This is an opportunity to capture the interest in requalification, because frankly speaking, the adult women right now, they might still spend 10, 20 years within the technology sector. And we noticed that by creating a special program to actually attract attention of those women who might be interested for requalification, but they don't know what the tech sector can offer. They don't even consider the techie jobs as the opportunities. And together with Google.org, the philanthropy organization of Google, we created a program for Lithuania and Latvia, digital program focused on women, but interested to learn more about the tech, and potentially in the future to consider it as the opportunity for their engagement into the sector, to tell about opportunities there. And what we've noticed, we were preparing for maybe 2,000 participants or so. We have received 11,000 candidates and participants of the program into the program, because we had no selection procedure, who are, as you can see, of the very different age groups, and many of them are from the 26 to 35, even 46 to 55, who still see an opportunity within the sector and is willing to find their spot. But that, understanding that what the sector can offer is not enough. There are some more components which we noticed with Women Go Tech that do shape the mindset and are particularly helpful for the industry fighting for gender equality within the tech. And one of those, if we go to the next slide, is the role of men. With Women Go Tech, from the very beginning, we're told that it's not the program from women to women. It's the program for talents to get into technology sector. That means, yes, we are focusing on the target audience of women to attract them, but we are men and women speaking to them. We engage men to become experts, to become spokespeople, to become ambassadors of gender equality. We got the CEOs of the top companies, men, speak about this program and engage women to the program and invite them to join the sector, show their organizations as open organizations for them to start their career. This is the picture of Women Go Tech co-founder, who as well spoke in so many events promoting equality, promoting ICT sector, and inviting women to feel, as I always say, safe by desiring certain careers, by jumping into something unknown and feeling comfortable in it. We go next. There's also what we learned, the importance on the community. It's not enough to only have the grassroots initiatives, NGOs focusing on various initiatives and the programs within the tech. It's important that we create communities, we create experts, we create these kind of platforms for experts to share the knowledge. We create the platforms for mentees, for women interested in tech to share their experiences on what is the pathway towards tech, what are the victories and what are the losses there, what are the frustrations that they have. And we noticed that this community aspect was really an accelerator to feel safe in the environment and to really focus on more the goal rather than the fear on what it takes to get into tech. If we go next, we also see the size of our community. I have mentioned that we have nearly 12,000 members right now of the community, both expats, alumni, Discover Tech, the digital program participants across the different markets. And we see that this experience sharing, networking, even employment opportunities that come from this community help to secure the jobs and help to engage women to stay within the sector, because what's important is not that there is an aspiration and willingness to come, but also willingness to stay. When we go next, we also see that willingness to stay for us goes into, as I say, the willingness to ensure as many role models within the sector as possible. And with the next slide, we see that Women Go Tech has worked to create various success stories that are not about the CEOs, that are not about the famous people who are there on the top of the ladder, but by the ones who walked this very difficult part, sometimes re-qualifying from totally unrelated specialties and starting working in the tech. The next slide will the next slide will show the different age groups and different women who chose their career path to get into tech and create their personal success stories. And what is important, the last aspect, where they say it's not only about the NGOs. Can we go to the next slide, please? It's not only about the NGOs who create the programs. It's not only about the companies who create the programs. It's about the multi-stakeholder environment that is the key in achieving it. It's about us collaborating on various aspects, creating programs, internships, creating conferences, discussion spaces, and creating this ecosystem when the industry fights inequality within the tech. The next slide shows that Women Go Tech particularly focused not on the foundations, on the grants or the donors to create something for the equality. We focused on the industry desiring equality. We focused on the companies that do say that equality is something that they are willing to pay for, they are willing to work for, they are willing to dedicate their experts to really share the knowledge and be very, very open to attract more talent to equality. So with this, I always say, and let's go to the final slide, that we have some examples that I will share in the workshop on how Women Go Tech crack this code. We have the guidelines and so on what we prepared for some other markets to create similar programs and to create these similar ecosystems to fight inequality within the tech industry. But I always say in the last slide, if we can go to that previous one, thank you. That mentorship is the key component for women to feel secure with their future career aspirations, and it has been underestimated for so many years. And I think the industry has lots of potential for the mentorship, for the experience sharing, for the knowledge sharing that could be the key aspect in changing the numbers and, most importantly, changing the industry towards more knowledge, innovation, and the better performance. So this is the very Women Go Tech experience in a nutshell. I will definitely share more during the workshop, which we have in the afternoon. For those who are interested, please join me and we will talk a little bit more in more detail of what we have noticed and what we are able to achieve.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. It's very success story, the Women Go Tech. It was very pleasant to hear what you have been doing and the important work that you are doing now. And about the workshop, there has been already many people signing to the workshop, but the organizers said that there are still a couple of spots left there. So if you want to sign in your interesting workshop, so please do so. But now we do have a little break and we will continue our program at 11 o'clock sharp. So now it's a time to grab a cup of coffee. Back to EqualiTech 2021, and we have had very interesting presentation, and these interesting presentations will continue. And the next speaker we have here is Tim Wallin, and so Tim Wallin, and he is one of the founders of a company called Gambit, and he is also the CEO of that company. And that company is very special company because it was chosen the Equality Company of the Year in Ostrobothnia in 2021. And now Tim is going to tell us how did they do that. And a couple of words about Tim. You enjoy snowboarding, reading sci-fi and fantasy novel, and you are the father of two.
Yes, that's quite exactly right. Thank you, Elina, for that introduction. Really excited to be here today. Yes, I'm going to talk about some of the things that makes Gambit what we are, and that includes a proud winner of the equality competition this year. To start with, I would like to show you our founding values, what we are based on in Gambit. They are a wonderful place to work. That's the key that we are looking into. We're also focused on sustainability and growth, as well as delivering great stuff. And the topic of today touches on the wonderful workplace. I'm not going to go through all of the text that we have here, but I do want to read the first paragraph of the wonderful place to work founding value. At Gambit, we enjoy what we do, and we trust the people around us. Equality and diversity aren't just words for us. By always showing respect for each other, and when the situation demands it, we help each other out. We know that happy people perform well, and that you should feel that your colleague always have your back. These words were written before we won the equality competition, but it's no coincidence that equality and diversity are mentioned as the second sentence in this founding value. So it's in our DNA from the start. How are we doing this then? One important thing, I think the most important thing that companies need to do is look at the leadership. The leadership needs to be the example, needs to set the standard. For instance, I think that a concrete example for me is that when the dishwasher is done here and I go past it, if I have a minute or two extra, I empty it. I also put in dishes if I see some lying around, even though it's not mine. And just those kinds of small acts from the CEO makes it quite hard for everyone else to say that, no, this is not part of my work description or something like that. From leadership comes the company culture. And the company culture needs to be nurtured so that it's actually sustained in a good way. And here everyone is responsible. If somebody wants to destroy, create bad stuff, bad feelings in the company, it's quite easy to do. So everyone is responsible to be able to lift the spirits and contribute in a good way to the company culture. But the leadership needs to set the tone. But the important thing is for us that we respect ideas and openness. We value different opinions and perspectives on things. We don't point fingers when mistakes happen. We try to figure out, okay, how to avoid this next time. those things are really important, I think, to set the foundation of a company the right way. Creating a positive work environment is one of our driving factors. And one way we do this is also to do stuff on our spare time together. We arrange different kinds of events. We try to be extra creative during this year to be able to spend time together doing other stuff than work. For instance, dinners, movies. This year we rented a slalom downhill skiing center, a small one, and had that for a half a day, just for us. These kinds of things, they build trust and respect between people in the company. They see that people who are good at stuff in the office can be good at other stuff outside of it. And that's when you start to learn about people in different ways. And this is also, the trust aspect is extremely important for us when we hire people as well. When we hire people, we know they can do a great job. That's the baseline. And we trust them explicitly right from the beginning. One example here is that a couple of months ago, we had a new employee. She had been here a month, and she needed to she asked me about the credit card, company credit card. So I gave her my credit card, and she bought something on it, and yeah, I don't know actually what it is, but it's probably something good. The point here is that we trust, even though there are new people that we don't quite know yet that well. We extend this trust from the beginning to the people. We try to empower them to make decisions so that they can, in their own way, make the best decisions from the position they are in. We don't like micromanagement and stuff like that. We do believe strongly that people are smart, people are responsible, and given the opportunity, they will make the best of the situation. This kind of attitude and also care about our employees is something that also makes them feel good, makes them also want to give this kind of trust and respect back to others. So when new employees come in, the whole team is there and giving the same good experience, onboarding experience to the new people as well that they themselves got. And in order to be able to have this kind of equal, diverse workplace, it's really important as well that we actually focus on the individuals as well. We believe that basically all people have some sort of superpower, something that they are extra good at, that they are extra passionate about. We want to unlock that potential. We want to see the individual and unlock that potential. And so we ask in the interview state that what can this person contribute with to Gambit that we doesn't already have? And that kind of question makes people think about, why am I special? Because in the interview, they don't know what kind of people we have here. They don't know exactly what Gambit is. They're curious, interested, looking for a job, but and have done probably some research, but they don't know anything yet. So they can't say that, yeah, you have that and that and that, but I have this. No, they need to more look into themselves and see what makes me special. What do I think that I'm extra good at, or something like that? It's a really interesting question to ask people, I think. We also try to, when it comes to perspectives and different opinions, we always try to create an atmosphere where people feel safe to express those opinions. And this is really important as well to create this kind of equal opportunity for everyone. One way we are doing this is to create that we have every year we have a company retreat, that we call it. We, all of us, the whole company, gather for 2-3 days somewhere outside of work environment, and just get together, mix fun stuff with hard work, in the sense that everybody's thinking about how can we improve Gambit, what's working well, what's working less well, what needs to be changed, what should we try next. And everyone, it doesn't matter if you're like the CEO or have some other position, designers, developers, project managers, everybody can come there and contribute with their opinions and affect how the company will develop and function for the coming year. And that's really powerful, I think. That's empowering everyone to be able to affect the company. That's really powerful. And these kind of things, I think that for us, getting people to feel safe, being an attractive employer is really, really important. But we have realized that being an attractive employer isn't enough, because you also need to keep your people. And we do think that having a genuinely awesome culture is what keeps people for a longer time with us. And that's good for everyone. The result from this, and a lot of different things that people come up with here and just suggest and do execute here, well, that's what's resulting in this wonderful workplace. And as you can see from the picture here, it's okay to be who you are, and that's really important as well, that people are respected for who they are. This is a shot from a previous masquerade we had, a Halloween, just goofing out, having fun, people going all in, and yeah, it's just awesome. And this kind of mix of leadership, and that's not my leadership only, it's what we are together, and reinforcing every day here, a lot of people around here. But the leadership, the culture, the ability to respect each other for their opinions, even though you maybe not agree about it, but you have that trust atmosphere, you feel safe. That makes it actually quite easy to be to create this kind of equality and diverse section. So we're really proud to be able to have this kind of environment where diversity, equality, independence, creativity, responsibility, personal development, commitment, passion, friendship, trust, joy, and well-being is just an awesome mix that makes up what we are. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and I think we have a few minutes now for questions and thoughts if you want to ask me something, anything.
Thank you very much, Tim, for your interesting presentation. And actually, it seems very interesting your workplace and looking at the picture of the people there. I noticed that there was a deaf man too.
Yes, from Simpsons.
Yeah, I'm true fan of Simpsons. That's an excellent TV show, and especially if you are interested in future, look at the Simpsons, because they have had some very good predictions about the future. For example, Trump being a president and so on. But actually, one question that I need to ask you is that what is your personal superpower?
My personal superpower is, I think I'm someone who can inspire others to do great stuff, and that's what I'm good at. I'm a problem solver, but just, I don't know. I think the inspirational part is perhaps where I can do the most impact at the moment, at least. So.
Yeah, it seems actually that you have quite nice communities there at working, and it's not only a workplace, but it's a lot like community where people are doing work also, having fun and doing work. And so, how many? If you what is the ratio of women versus men in your company?
We have about 20% at the moment. We have had a massive recruitment campaign the last year, actually. And once again, we struggled to find enough women in this area of work that we are in. So we were at about 25. Right now we have recruited a lot of men, and we're down on 20% about right now. But we have good applicants right now from also females finally. So let's see if we can raise that again.
So obviously, that's very good to hear about your recruiting and getting more females. But if you could be the one giving the solutions to this big challenge of getting women into the more interested in technology fields and studying and going to work in the field of tech, what would you do?
I think that some of the things we are already doing, we are engaging in trying to involve young girls into coding together with Yrkesakademin Makerspace, for instance. We have had a girl coder camp, and we're trying to figure out how we can arrange that during this summer, hopefully as well, safely. We'll see. But being and that's a key there is that we have then women programming who are teaching young girls how to program and introduce them into that. So we have one part is the introduction to tech, and the other part is showing that there is role models in this area of expertise. And that was also something that mentioned earlier here in some speeches, also the role model part. And I think that is really important to show young women, even like from early school age up to when they will decide on some higher education, that there are women in tech. There are women who are programmers. There are women who are project managers in tech companies. We have designers. We have like architects. We have tech leads. All these great women in our company in various roles, doing great stuff, and some of them have tech education, some of them doesn't have that, but they can still come into the area of work here and learn the technical bits that needs to be learned and just do a great job. So role models and active work, that's actually the two things.
And I think that is actually a very good point that you were saying, that you have women that do not have the technological background that are still working in the field of technology. And that is something that I would also like to emphasize, that it's not that if you haven't studied the long mathematics and so on in your child or in Lukio at school, so this is something that you can never be working at the technology. No, that's not it. One of the very interesting interviews that I was doing in Tyttö innostu tekniikasta, so girls get inspired by the technology videos, that I was interviewing this woman working in the technology. It was one woman, and she was working in the coding company, and she was being there as a manager, and her background in was as a like mental issues nurse. And then she worked to the coding business, and she said that she had learned by doing it. So it's not late if you haven't done that when you were young. You can do it still when you are older. So I think that is something that you is very important to encourage girls, that you can also. Yeah.
I think that most of them. Yes, we have some who are musicians from the last work, and we have from economics, and we have from design. So that's not just we try to look at the potential in the person and go from there. So
and the diversity is the thing that you get more innovation. So having also the backgrounds, the gender diversity, the background diversity. So that's how you get the real innovation. But hey, Tim, thank you very much for the inspiring speech of your company. And now the next speaker we are going to have is going to be Taina Myöhänen, and she is the president in We in Games Finland, and she's a game industry veteran who has been actually working in the game industry since 2006. So 15 years, that's quite a long time. Taina, you're welcome here, and I'm looking forward to hear your speech.
Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Taina Myöhänen. I'm the president of We in Games Finland, and I am here to talk about video games industry in Finland. Let's jump for the next slide, please. So about We in Games Finland, just a few words. We are an organization established 2019, but we have a roots in a community called Women in Games Finland that was running since 2011. We are the organization for everyone who support diversity and inclusion in the Finnish games ecosystem. This was written to our rules, and but we want to highlight that it really means everyone. We are not excluding anyone who feels that the diversity is important. And that is kind of the essence what we do. Currently, we have around 250 members. We have a Facebook group that has 1,500 members. And we have several projects running around diversity and inclusion topics in games. Let's go for the next slide, please. So very shortly about the ecosystem, you probably know some, but I just want to go this because this is like the half of the topic what I'm talking today. So we are a relatively young industry. We usually count like 25 years old at the moment. That usually starts when Housemarque and Remedy were established in 1995. But the beginning was really small. It took years to be profitable industry. And nowadays we are on 2.2 billion industry. These numbers are from 2019, by the way. We don't have 2020 numbers yet ready. But these 2.2 billion, it's not like equally divided with all these 200 companies. So there are a few companies that are making most of it, like let's name Supercell. Employer-wise, we are not big. We have around 3,200 employees. It's changing all the time a bit. And the biggest employee is probably Rovio with nearly 500 employees, but they are not all working in Finland. Most of them are working in Finland. So let's go for the next slide. So what comes to your mind when you think a game developer? The most typical image, also the media loves to nurture, is a white, middle-aged to young male from Western countries. And that is the most typical image we see. But I would like to share you like the facts, how the situation is. Let's go for the next slide. These numbers are from NeoGames study in 2018. As said, we don't have the last year's numbers yet ready, so I need to refer this. So back 20% of game industry workers in Finland was women, and 27 were from abroad. I happen to know that the new number is for women in the industry is 22%, but that's not officially out yet. And the amount of people from abroad is quite high because we need international talents, and also people everywhere know that Finland is one of the hotspots for making games. So we both have the attraction to come here, and also we have the need. So this number has been raising very fast, and I think it even raised during the COVID times, like last year. We can go for the next slide, please. So last year, we did a study among our members and followers. So this is not covering everyone in the field, but just looking our members and followers. And we find out that 25.7% of our members and followers belong to non-straight groups. We also find that 24.7% have some non-visible disability. We regret here that we didn't ask about the mental health, because from other studies we've learned that the mental health issues in this kind of creative industry are kind of big issue, and that is something that every employer should take into account. According to our studies, 22% of our members and followers are from abroad, and also and this also quite nicely aligns with the previous study that I showed. 8.2% of our members are persons of color. This is quite a small amount, and this is something we've been also focusing, like finding out, is there really an option given for persons of colors to think that they could work in the games? Are we kind of supporting that? Is the school system supporting that? This is one of the topics we try to figure out. 4.5% of our members and followers are non-binary. And this was actually the first year that was also asked in the bigger study NeoGames does. And we will have the numbers out. And then we also have people from marginalized religions in our industry that should be taken into account. We can go for the next slide. To give some perspective for the previous numbers, the number of women is widely collected, but compare the other numbers, and I will come back to that later, but compare the other numbers, we don't have much in the national data. However, we have some from the UK, where they made a study regarding all UK employers in games. And they figured out that 21% belong to non-straight groups. Also, according to their study, 28% of game workforce in UK are non-UK, having non-UK passports. So I think this is very typical and is kind of giving the alignments for our study as well. Let's go for the next slide, please. So this is to show you that the diversity exists regardless of the stereotypical image of white male working in the industry. We have lots of white males still working in the industry, and that's totally okay. But we also, the others, we are there. We exist, some of us longer years. So personally, I find it a bit disturbing when we are discussing about games that always we are presenting this one image of what kind of person the game maker is. Let's go for the next slide. So actually the question is, there is diversity in games, but are these people included? Are we included in making games like in the proper ways? Let's go for the next slide. Sorry about jumping. So this, what I've listed here, they are not specific for games. Maybe some of them are a bit more highlighted in the games. And they can apply it for any industry. And I want to say that nobody is perfect in diversity issues, but the little steps we should make are the most important. So I prefer usually to give like some concrete advice. One of them is using inclusive wording, at least in our industry, where we can see that a lot of people are non-straight. So no, for example, assumptions of partners should be made by the employer when, for example, planning an event or similar. We should be able to provide equal opportunities, meaning blind auditing or transparent promotion system. And we should use language everyone can use in a communication. In games, it's usually that when the first who doesn't speak, we just switch the language in English. We mostly speak all the time English because this is a global industry. So that is kind of the rule, what we follow. That's not written anywhere. Also give possibilities for underrepresented people. It's like speaking at the events is a good one. Or when you have the promotion options, do that in there because that is very important for the representation. And seek diversity because we have the studies that the diversity brings the profits. Let's go for the next slide. So how great we've been as an industry. These are the numbers. I'm sorry, it's quite small font. So these are the numbers showing the amount of women in the Finnish game industry since 2010. And the other column is telling how many people are working in the industry altogether. And the colorful one shows the amount of women. And as we can see, since 2010, for 10 years' time, it hasn't been raising that much. That tells us that the people are leaving our industry or we don't recruit in the same levels that it should be. So this is a bit disturbing for me. We are not doing as great as an industry. Let's go for the next slide. This is the percentage of women from all employers working in the industry 2018 in different countries. Finland is there in the middle. And this is also a bit what I find disturbing because we like to go around and promote like we are so equal country and we are so doing well and almost like equally and women and men are the working ecosystem, like being part of that. And it seems we're not doing that well. Let's go for the next slide. So my last advice is pretty similar than previous speaker been saying. When you need somebody to talk about games, have a look for our speakers list. We have listed there super professional people from our industry who are willing to tell you more about the industry or the area of expertise. And why this is important? It is important because the representation matters. Every time we go to speak in whatever event, we receive a couple of messages saying, thank you, I never thought I could work in the games industry. And that is really big for me. That is like why I keep doing this. So there are people who never thought they could work in the games. And we should promote that. We should tell them that there are already diversity in games. We are working to make that even better than it is nowadays. And the media coverage showing the people who are already in games is one of our biggest aims. And please feel free to copy this model for any industry. We don't own the copyrights. On the contrary, we've been promoting this for everyone. Like do the same, do the lists of speakers, promote them, and try whenever you have any reason to ask for an expert. Try to pick the expert who is, like, for example, from our speakers list. Thank you. Let's go for the last slide. So here are our contact information if you want to follow us. And from our website, you can find my contact info as well, because it seems I forgot to write it here. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Taina, for your presentation. And it is very interesting to have a representative from the game industry to speak about woman equality and so on. And as we can see, as you saw these slides, that there is still much to do in the games industry. There's so little, like 22% of women are working in the game industry. So, or I mean that of the game industry people that are working there, 22% of them are women. One of the things that I've been thinking about these computer games is that they seem to be very masculine. Am I right, or is this just... I'm not a gamer, but am I right, or is this just my stupid opinion?
I'm so happy you are bringing this up, because this is actually one of the studies, one of the projects we are running for this year. We are packed up, we got funded by the Justice Ministry. So this is the project we do together with the Naisjärjestöjen Keskusliitto in Finland. And here we, for example, take all the games made in Finland last 3 years, and we analyze like the genders that are there and all the different representation that are there. And then we do a deep analysis as well. So we really want to get into this as well. Is this like the public image? Because many times when we talk about gaming, we talk about a couple of games that are played like widely and played in the esports. So there are a lot of other kind of games. Like personally, I just play odd indie games. So I don't follow that much like obviously I read the news, but I don't play these other games that much. So there are other kind of games as well. And obviously 200 companies in Finland making games, they make a huge portion of games per year. So, and this is not only in Finland, but I do agree that when I, for example, saw marketing, there are many times it's very masculine ways, but there are other kind of games, and I see them coming more and more all the time. So I would hope people would find these kind of games as well, and this is probably one of the things we need to think, how to promote this kind of games.
Yeah, actually, now I take a little bit back. When thinking about game industry, this sometimes it's like having these shooting games and something, and that's the first image that I have about the game industry. But then I think about my gaming. I realize that I do play games, and my favorite is Candy Crush. Or Soda Crush, or whatever, and it's actually very addictive and so on. And but that is a good example that there are so many different kinds of games, and also gaming has many possibilities. It's not only for the entertainment, but it's also could be used in the health industry, for example. In Alzheimer's disease, so you try to memorize better with gaming, or in education. So there are huge potentials there. Or for example, when we think about the climate change, you could have this game educating about the climate change and so on. And there are probably these games. So there are huge possibilities, and having these or presenting the wide spectrum of the possibilities of the gaming, I think it's very important. So it's not only the Clash of Clans or something, these type of games, but there could be also some other types of games that could be more interested for the women game designers, for example. But thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting. And again, I would think that if some people would have any questions, they could ask the questions directly from you. But now we have Tomas Häyry having his presentation, and Tomas is the mayor of City of Vaasa, and he has been the mayor of City of Vaasa since 2011, and we are very happy to hear his comments and his speech about the equality and diversity. So you're very welcome to come here, Tomas.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the possibility to speak. on this seminar. I think the topic is very important. We can directly go to the next slide, please. And why do we, I was first thinking, why am I invited to speak on an EqualiTech seminar and emphasizing the tech part of it? Because I'm representing the public sector and of course we have also tech in our sort, but I thought I could with a few words describe the specialty of Vaasa and the Vaasa region. We are world leading in many energy technological areas like smart grid, marine solutions, sustainable energy production and energy efficiency. And I'm sure many of you have heard the news from Monday, so we are also moving forward in energy storage and battery in the battery field. We can take the next slide, please. As you see, we have a lot of people working in the energy sector, and I think one figure is very important in this seminar. I was given the subject for my speak was leading the way on a local scale, but as you see here, our companies have an export rate over 80%, and they are exporting their products to every country in the world. And this means that when we as a municipality, as a platform for our companies and for our talents coming to work in the companies, when we are competing, we are not competing on a local scale and we are not competing on a national scale, we are competing on a global scale. And this is very important to remember in everything that you are doing, whether you are working, as you might see on a local scale or not, you are in all aspects always connected globally also. Please go to the next slide. We have a lot of investments going on and we have a lot of people coming in. The energy cluster grew during from the year 2000 to 2010. It over doubled in job places, and therefore we have a lot of experience in growth, but also a lot of experience in international diversity. We have over 100 nationalities living here and over 120 languages spoken in Vaasa, and therefore we see it as essential and very important that we also drive the diversity in all aspects onward. I will come back to that later, but let's go on to the next slide, please. I'm not going to tell you the usual statistics about, for example, the city and how many people we have here. I want to give you an insight in our environment of working and how it has changed during times. The cities and municipalities were founded because people wanted to live close together. They saw that this is effective, but then we needed the cities to make law and order and infrastructure. And from this role, it was changed more to as I called neo-municipalism, where we from an authority moved over to be a service producer and service provider, and the emphasis shift was more on that side. But nowadays I see that the cities are changing very fast to something I call post-municipalism again, because now we are changing from merely to being service providers and a little bit authorities. We are changing to be innovative enablers, and in this work all kinds of aspects of diversity is very important. Please take the next slide, please. Now I have a series of maybe platitudes and advice. Take them if you wish, but this is some points that I see is very important in driving forward our community and driving forward the important agenda of equality and diversity. I hope that you always remain curious and open-minded. Vaasa has had a great success story because we have always been interested in what the world has to offer. People from Vaasa have been traveling abroad and have been sailing and being merchants internationally for centuries. And through this, we have always been in contact with what has happened everywhere else, and also been in contact with different cultures, and we have always seen it as a very big richness for us. This is also very important on a personal aspect, because in many interviews, when I interview talents that apply for a job, I look for the personality, and those who are curious, those who are open-minded, are more interesting persons often to recruit. But we can go to the next slide. I also wish that you always strive for life quality and positiveness. Life's too short to throw away with only mere mechanical ambitions. You have to enjoy it also. But then also, I think the positiveness is very important in this aspect, because you know, I believe strongly that leadership, in your leadership, you should emphasize positiveness and positive examples much more than has been done up to here. For example, in driving the equality, the diversity onwards, I think we need a lot more of positive examples. We need idols for people. We need idols who can show that there is a path. And in this sense, I think we should all take it to ourselves and think about all the great steps we have done during this journey. We are not close even to a perfect situation still. Just as we heard in the previous presentation, we are not even as good as we think ourselves in the field of equality in work life, in the field of diversity in our community. But I think through positive examples, through positive drives, we can get much better results than, for example, just blaming all the young male persons for what previous generations have done. Please go on to the next slide, please. I'll have an example. I don't know if you know, but we have a ferry line going on. It's the most northernmost here in the world that operates daily all year round, and we can take the next slide. And now we are building a new ferry on the Rauma Wharf and it will be finished this year. And this is a great example of the highest marine technology you can find in the world today. And it's a very complex building. And at the same time, shipbuilding is also a very traditional and very old area. But here I have as an example the main project manager for building the whole ship and this complex system is Johanna Kaijo. And I think these kinds of examples we need, and especially in traditional branches, because we can then drive it forward. Please go on to the next slide. It's also important that you set your goals and ambitions high and you're not shy about them. But in this sense, I want to point out, when I talk to people, I often try to listen. I don't want to know about their ambitions to be CEOs or development directors or YouTubers or anything else. I want to know what they want to achieve when they get that position. And in this sense, it's something to always remember when you are going for a career, when you are going to change the world. In my work, I go to work every day truly happy because I hope that I can be a part in changing the world, and I truly believe it. We can change the world to be more sustainable through sustainable energy solutions, and therefore I see this as my most important goal. Not to be a mayor, that's just media where I can achieve my own goals. Please go on to the next slide. As just a conclusion, I openly and truly mean it. Diversity is an immense richness. It is an immense richness for a city, for a working team, or any group of people. But actually, it's also on a personal level in all aspects of life. We can go to the next, thank you. And giving you all these advices, these findings that I have on my road have discovered, I also want to remind you of not analyzing too much. Also go forward. In leadership, it's also very important to be concrete and sometimes just say, let's do it, just do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tomas, for your presentation. And I would say that this was quite a motivational speech for all of us. And I really like, I really like this quotes that you had: remain curious and open-minded and just do it, and make a better future. And your idea of emphasizing the positive thinking and role models and do it in a positive way. Okay, Tomas, what's wrong with you? You are Finn and you are so positive. When did this happen? How did this happen? Where did you get the positive attitude?
You can always blame my mother. She's a very important person, and she always taught us. Actually, I find it hard sometimes to listen and be a part of the equality discussion, because I was grown up in a total equal environment and had to do the homework, had to do the dishes and everything in all aspects, and there was never some distinction about what men do or what women do. You do what you are best at, and you can always try to be better in doing things. And I think maybe simple answer is the environment, of course. And I have always been curious and also open-minded for the world. I've traveled quite a lot, but I think the main reason is my mother. So you have to blame her.
Yes, well, you have obviously a very good mother. So thanks to her bringing up so wise son. So thank you, Tomas, very, very much for your presentation. And now I think it's time to wrap up this seminar and some of the findings there. And I have been actually writing down some list of the findings and interesting ideas that stuck into my mind when listening to all of these brilliant speeches here about diversity and equality. So I would start. One of the very important comments is that actually technology fields need more women to work there. So we need more women to work in the technology, and this is very much because of the future. Technology is very important part of our lives now, and it is going to be even bigger part in our lives in the future, because algorithms are going to have more effect of all our lives in the future. So for that we need also women. And actually when we talk about diversity, it's also more than talking about men and women. It's also we should talk about also, for example, religion and age, and we have people of different ages, we have people from different cultures and so on. So more heterogeneous groups we have to create the innovations for the future. I think that they are more applicable for all the people to use them. One of the things also what I wrote down here is that equality, it's important to realize that equality is not a static state here. So if we think that, for example, now if we look at the salaries and women are getting a certain percent of the male salary, and even though it would be 1-to-1 in some day, would be, it's not in any country, it's not 1-to-1. It's in every country in the world, women are earning less than men. But even the day that we would have 1-to-1 the salaries, so that it doesn't stop there. I don't mean that women should get more than men, but we should keep that equal, and that is why this is a continuous work that we have to do in the future, because sometimes the numbers go up and sometimes they could go down, and we don't want to go to the situation, for example, where the amount of women going to study the technology in the technology field is going to decrease. That is certainly something that we don't want to happen. One other thing that I wrote down to my notes is it's very important to realize the importance of small and big acts on equality, and both are very important. It's when we think about small acts, it's inside of one individual company, it's inside of one individual company's recruiting process. How are we making sure that we are, for example, in the recruiting process, we are taking the most or the best candidates, not based on the gender, for example, not based that this candidate is the best because it's my body or it's similar to me. So that's maybe a small thing, but then we have these big things and which are in the best case even emerging things like Women Go Tech, which was an excellent example about how a small grassroots things can grow and have a bigger and bigger impact. One of the things that the importance here have been discussed many times is the importance of role models for girls. So it's very important for the girls that are maybe thinking that should I start to study programming, or should I go to for electrical engineering studies? Should I take those studies? So for them to have these role models, to have these female role models that are telling that, okay, this is my work and this is something I do. And for some reason, I don't know why, but it seems that girls tend to have lower self-esteem in STEM. And I have seen that many times, and even the girls that are getting 9 or 10 in the mathematics, they think that, okay, they can't do the long mathematics at school. This is one of the things that's happened to quite nearby of me. There was one girl getting 10 from mathematics in yläaste, so 9th grade, and then she was thinking that, well, I'm not maybe good enough to have a long mathematics in lukio. And this is something which is, I think, really sad thing. Of course, that's every individual decisions that you are making. That's not everybody has to study STEM, but I don't like the idea that if you are getting high grades and still you are thinking that am I good enough and can I do the mathematics, more advanced mathematics. So I think that somehow this kind of like encouraging girls that you are good enough to work in the technology fields. And the last thing that I already mentioned here is that when we talk about diversity and equality, it's important to understand that it's not only about gender diversity, but we need to have diversity in many fields, as I was talking about age and culture and outlook of people, for example, meaning that no matter if you are big or small or tall or short, so that doesn't mean that you can't do certain things. And also talking about the health issues, for example. But this was my part of the ending words, and I'm very happy that we had quite many people actually, almost about 60 people following the seminar. That's a big amount, and I'm very happy that you all have been so interested about the diversity and equality issues, and I really hope that in the future we will have more women in the field of STEM. Now we are ending this seminar, but actually the workshops are going to continue. But we have now 1 hour lunch break, and if you are interested in participating in the workshops, go to the Facebook page of this event, and then you can see the direct links to those workshops. And the workshops are starting at 1 o'clock, and then they will end about 3:30. So I wish you all very happy future, and the spring is coming, and I think that this COVID pandemic shock is going to end soon as we get the vaccines. So stay healthy and stay positive. Bye.